The world's oldest known wooden structure predates our species. The discovery of the world's oldest known wooden structure in Zambia has rewritten the timeline of human innovation. Found near the towering Kalambo Falls, the structure consists of interlocking logs that date back approximately 476,000 years. This incredible find predates the evolution of Homo sapiens by more than 120,000 years, suggesting that our distant ancestors possessed far greater technical and construction skills than previously believed. Archaeologists have long understood that early hominids used wood for tools, fire, and basic implements, but this discovery marks the earliest known instance of wood being deliberately shaped and interlocked to create a larger structure. The researchers believe that the logs may have been used to build a raised platform, a walkway, or even the foundation of a shelter. This suggests that early humans may not have been entirely nomadic, as previously assumed, but instead had the ability to construct semi-permanent or even permanent dwellings. Kalambo Falls provided an ideal environment for early hominins. One of the most remarkable aspects of this discovery is the craftsmanship involved. The logs were deliberately shaped to fit together in a way that suggests advanced planning and an understanding of structural integrity. This level of skill implies a level of cognitive ability that had not been previously attributed to humans of this period. Until now, the oldest known modified wooden object was a carved wood tool from South Africa, dated to the Middle Stone Age, which is significantly younger than the Kalambo Falls structure. The dating of this extraordinary find was made possible through advanced luminescence dating techniques. By analyzing the minerals in the surrounding sand and determining the last time they were exposed to sunlight, scientists were able to estimate that the artifact is close to 500,000 years old. This method provides a more accurate timeline of ancient human activity and has allowed researchers to place this wooden structure within a crucial period of early human development. The implications of this discovery are profound. It suggests that early hominins were not only tool makers, but also builders, capable of manipulating their environment in ways previously thought to be unique to later human species. This challenges the assumption that complex construction techniques only emerged with Homo sapiens. Instead, it indicates that the cognitive abilities necessary for such engineering feats were present in human ancestors much earlier than previously recognized. Moreover, this discovery raises new questions about the capabilities of early hominins. If they were able to construct such structures, what other technological advancements might they have achieved that have yet to be uncovered? The Kalambo Falls discovery also has implications for our understanding of social behavior in early human societies. The construction of a wooden structure would likely have required cooperation, planning, and communication among multiple individuals. This suggests that early hominins may have lived in more structured social groups than previously thought, working together to create sustainable living spaces. This would have given them a significant survival advantage, allowing them to remain in one place and develop more complex societal behaviors. This groundbreaking find further highlights the importance of re-examining archaeological sites with modern technology. Future excavations at Kalambo Falls could uncover additional evidence of early human settlement, providing further clues about how these ancient builders lived, what tools they used, and how they interacted with their environment. The newly released Epstein list has been redacted. The release of redacted versions of the Epstein lists has caused a significant stir, with many questioning the motives behind the extensive censorship. Early access to the documents has revealed that large portions of the information have been blacked out, making it nearly impossible to determine the full extent of Epstein's network. The lack of transparency has fueled speculation that high-profile individuals named in the documents are being shielded from public scrutiny. The controversy deepened when a whistleblower came forward with alarming allegations that the FBI is systematically deleting records related to high-profile cases, including those connected to Epstein. This revelation has sparked outrage, with many viewing it as an attempt to obstruct justice. The whistleblower has claimed that the deletions are not accidental, but rather part of a deliberate effort to protect influential figures from legal repercussions. If these allegations are true, they raise serious concerns about corruption within the agency and the potential for a cover-up at the highest levels. Epstein's demise left many questions unanswered, and despite ongoing investigations, the full extent of his connections has never been disclosed. The newly surfaced claims suggest that crucial files linking powerful individuals to his criminal activities are being erased, further preventing the truth from coming to light. This has only added to the growing skepticism surrounding the case, with many believing that efforts are being made to ensure that key figures remain unscathed. The redacted documents and alleged destruction of evidence have led to widespread frustration among those demanding justice. Many argue that the public has a right to know the names of individuals involved in Epstein's network, as transparency is essential in holding those responsible accountable. However, the continued suppression of information has only fueled more questions about who is being protected and why. The situation has intensified calls for greater oversight and independent investigations into the handling of the Epstein case. If powerful individuals are indeed being shielded through redactions and document deletions, it would suggest a serious breach of justice. The lack of accountability only deepens the perception that certain elites operate above the law, free from the consequences that others would face under similar circumstances. The battle for transparency in the Epstein case is far from over. The redacted lists and whistleblower allegations highlight the challenges in uncovering the truth, but they also serve as a reminder of the importance of persistence in seeking justice. Until the full, unredacted information is released and a thorough, impartial investigation is conducted, the mystery surrounding Epstein's connections and the potential cover-up will continue to haunt the public conscience. Mysterious creature caught on camera. Nuevo Leon, described as being a mysterious goblin-like witch, was photographed in a tree in the town of General Terran. The extraordinary photograph is being circulated on many social media platforms, eliciting a strong reaction from viewers. A man called Juan captured evidence of the supposed witch's presence in a tree within a park in the Chitricultores neighborhood of Monterrey. Following the internet distribution of the photographs, individuals from Mexico emerged and provided specific accounts of their strange encounters with mysterious beings that bore a resemblance to the monster seen in the photo. The earliest reports of goblin-like creatures in Mexican forests date back centuries, embedded in the folklore of indigenous communities. Known locally as duendes, these beings are often described in traditional stories as small, supernatural creatures living in the woods with both benign and malevolent tendencies. These legends have been passed down through generations, maintaining a consistent description of the creatures as small, humanoid figures with distinctive facial features. In recent years, numerous modern sightings have been reported, particularly in the rural areas of southern Mexico. One notable encounter occurred in the summer of 2021, when a group of hikers near the Sierra Madre de Oaxaca region claimed to have seen multiple goblin-like creatures in the trees. According to their account, the creatures were approximately 2 to 3 feet tall, with glowing eyes that reflected the moonlight. The hikers reported that the goblins seemed to be observing them, communicating with each other in a high-pitched, unintelligible language. Another significant sighting took place in 2022 in the state of Chiapas, where a local farmer named Diego Martinez captured a video of a goblin-like creature while checking his crops at night. The proliferation of smartphones and portable cameras has led to an increase in photographic and video evidence of goblin sightings. The images and videos collected typically show small, dark figures with human-like features but exaggerated proportions, such as oversized eyes and ears. These visual records, while often of varying quality, consistently match eyewitness descriptions and provide a tangible basis for further investigation. In addition to visual evidence, some encounters have left behind physical traces. For instance, several witnesses have reported finding small footprints near the sites of their sightings. These footprints, usually no larger than a child's, show distinct humanoid characteristics but with an unusual shape, often including claw-like toes. Analysis of these prints has not conclusively identified any known species, further supporting the argument for the existence of an unknown creature. The consistent and compelling eyewitness accounts, coupled with physical evidence, suggest that these creatures could be real. Whether they are undiscovered primates, new species, or something else entirely, their existence challenges our understanding of the natural world. Strange object photographed above Saudi Arabia. In the modern, bustling metropolis of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, a city known for its blend of tradition and cutting-edge architecture, an extraordinary event unfolded that captivated the attention of locals. An unidentified object, exhibiting the uncanny ability to change shape, was photographed hovering above one of Riyadh's iconic buildings. Recently, the skyline was interrupted by an unexpected object. An eyewitness adjusted their camera to capture the majestic buildings when they noticed an unusual object hovering above them. Initially dismissing it as a drone or a conventional aircraft, they continued with their photography. However, the object soon began to exhibit behavior that defied conventional explanation. It changed shapes, morphing from a spherical form to a more elongated, cigar-like structure, and then into a triangular configuration. Mesmerized by the spectacle, the individual took several photographs, documenting the object's transformations before it suddenly shot upwards and disappeared into the night sky. The photographs captured are of remarkable clarity, showing the object in various stages of its transformation. Upon sharing the photographs with local news outlets and on social media, the images quickly garnered attention from individuals who study unidentified objects. Many pointed out that the sharp transitions between shapes would be challenging to achieve with conventional aircraft or drones. The luminosity and lack of visible propulsion systems further suggested that the object was not of any known technological origin. The sighting sparked a wave of fascination and speculation among the public. Many residents were captivated by the idea of an unidentified, shape-shifting object in their skies. Social media buzzed with theories ranging from advanced visitors to secret military technology. The sighting of the shape-shifting object underscores the importance of maintaining an open-minded approach to unexplained phenomena. Such encounters encouraged the scientific community to expand their investigative frameworks and consider new hypotheses. The presence of an unidentified object exhibiting advanced capabilities also raises important questions about national and global security. Governments and defense organizations may need to reconsider their airspace monitoring protocols and invest in technologies capable of detecting and analyzing such phenomena. The potential implications for both civilian and military sectors are significant, emphasizing the need for international cooperation in addressing these mysterious events. Man captures a strange object above the moon. An unknown individual took a mysterious photograph of the moon that would spark both awe and controversy across social media. An amateur astronomer captured an image of what appeared to be a large circular UFO hovering above the moon. This photo quickly went viral, igniting discussions and debates about the existence of extraterrestrial life and unidentified flying objects. A large circular object can be seen hovering just above the lunar surface. Upon closer examination, the object appeared large and was perfectly round. Its size and proximity to the moon suggested that it was not a natural satellite or a known spacecraft. The photograph was quickly picked up by social media groups that investigate unidentified objects. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times, drawing comments from people worldwide. Many were fascinated by the clarity and detail of the image, speculating about its origin. Some suggested it was definitive proof of extraterrestrial activity, while others proposed more mundane explanations, such as a weather balloon or a reflection. As the photo gained traction, experts from various fields weighed in. The photo reignited interest in the search for advanced life, and the possibility of a UFO hovering above the moon challenges our current understanding of what these objects are capable of. The photograph also highlights the advancements in amateur astronomy and photography. With relatively affordable equipment, enthusiasts can capture high-quality images that can rival those taken by professional observatories. However, these advancements also come with the potential for anomalies and artifacts. The enduring fascination with UFOs and extraterrestrial life reflects deep-seated human curiosity about the unknown. This photo tapped into this curiosity, sparking widespread interest and discussion. This fascination is not new. Throughout history, humans have looked to the skies, interpreting unexplained aerial phenomena as signs of divine beings, advanced civilizations, or natural wonders. Mysterious object spotted above Mars. Recently, the sighting of a mysterious disc-shaped object hovering above Mars has caught the attention of social media users and those interested in the unknown. This extraordinary event, documented by one of NASA's Mars rovers, has sparked intense debate and curiosity about the possibility of advanced life and advanced technologies beyond our understanding. The Mars rover, a robotic vehicle designed to explore the surface of Mars, has been a cornerstone of our quest to understand the red planet. Equipped with an array of sophisticated instruments, cameras, and sensors, the rover transmits high-resolution images and data back to Earth, allowing scientists to study Mars's geology, climate, and potential signs of past or present life. On a normal day, the rover's cameras recorded something unexpected: a disc-shaped object hovering above the planet's surface. The object, metallic and reflective, appeared to be perfectly circular with a smooth, featureless surface. Its dimensions suggested it was large enough to be visible from the rover's vantage point, yet small enough to evade previous detection. The images, when transmitted back to Earth, immediately caught the attention of scientists and researchers at NASA. The clarity of the photographs left little room for doubt. This was not a typical Martian feature or a trick of light and shadow. The object was undeniably distinct and seemingly out of place in the barren Martian sky. Detailed analysis of the images revealed several intriguing characteristics of the disc-shaped object. The most interesting theory posits that the object is a craft of advanced origin. Proponents of this theory argue that Mars, with its historical significance in the search for life, could be a point of interest for other civilizations. While less likely given the object's characteristics, some skeptics have suggested it could be a natural phenomenon not yet understood. Unusual atmospheric conditions or geological activity might create the appearance of a hovering disk, though this explanation struggles to account for the object's precise shape and reflectivity. The sighting of a mysterious disc-shaped object hovering above Mars by the Mars rover stands as one of the most intriguing events captured on Mars. Granger Taylor was a Canadian mechanic and pilot who gained notoriety for his mysterious disappearance in 1980. He was an eccentric figure who had a fascination with space and aliens, and he had reportedly made numerous attempts to contact extraterrestrial beings. Taylor's disappearance was unusual in that he left behind a note that seemed to suggest he was voluntarily leaving Earth on an alien spaceship. The note, which was found in his workshop, reads as follows: "I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship, as reoccurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I am leaving behind all my possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger." End quote. Taylor's family and friends were mystified by his disappearance, and the note only added to the confusion. Many people believed that he had been abducted by advanced beings, while others speculated that he had staged his own disappearance as part of an elaborate hoax. Taylor had always been an unusual character, and he had a long history of strange behavior. He was known for tinkering with machinery and building his own planes and cars, often using unorthodox methods. He also had a deep interest in the paranormal and was known to dabble in astrology, numerology, and other esoteric subjects. Despite the speculation surrounding his disappearance, no trace of Taylor was ever found, and his fate remains a mystery to this day. Some people believe that he may have simply walked off into the wilderness and perished, while others maintain that he was indeed taken aboard a spaceship. The case of Granger Taylor has become something of a legend, and it continues to fascinate people around the world. Some people see him as a tragic figure, driven to madness by his obsession with advanced life and the unknown, while others view him as a visionary who was simply ahead of his time. Initially, it seemed like a harmless and amusing endeavor. However, as he constructed a radio transceiver, allowing him to communicate with advanced beings, based on the recurring dreams he had about aliens and mysterious aircrafts, concerns surfaced regarding his mental well-being. On the night that he went missing, nearby residents claimed to have heard a loud bang, with some coming forward and saying that a bright light could be seen in the sky. This caused some to speculate whether Taylor had in fact been picked up by an advanced aircraft, and the bright lights that were witnessed belonged to the same craft, while others said that the loud bang could have been due to dynamite. According to Taylor's friend Keller, a severe storm occurred in Duncan on the night in question, which makes it plausible that the noise heard was thunder. According to Taylor's belief, Keller was informed that the advanced beings would possibly come during bad weather, as it could serve as cover while they traveled. Interestingly, Taylor's possession of dynamite at the time of his disappearance should not be considered relevant, as those who knew him said that he was an expert with dynamite and said that he wouldn't have done anything to cause himself harm. Keller was involved in the construction of the spaceship that was built on Granger's farm. He firmly believes that his friend would not do anything that would cause harm, and describes him as an extremely intelligent, pragmatic, and wise individual. According to Keller, Taylor was the epitome of level-headedness. Keller and his family were among the last individuals to have seen Taylor alive. According to him, he would have noticed if Taylor had any unusual intentions, as he was a very intelligent person who lived his life normally. However, he believes that after being called a spaceman, he began to be seen as someone who was not level-headed. Regardless of what actually happened to Taylor, his story has become a powerful symbol of the human desire to explore and understand the unknown. It is a reminder that, despite our many technological advances and scientific discoveries, there are still mysteries in the world that elude us, and that the quest for knowledge and understanding is never truly over. 2 mysterious crop circles appear overnight in Hampshire, England. The first crop circle appeared on the 28th of July 2024 in Stoke Charity, a small village near Sutton Scotney in Hampshire. Overnight, in the middle of a wheat field, a perfectly formed crop circle had appeared, but this was no ordinary crop circle. Unlike the traditional circular patterns that have been associated with crop circles since they first gained attention in the 1970s, this formation was distinctly different. It was a circular pattern featuring a cube-shaped wave design at its center. The appearance of this crop circle has sparked widespread curiosity and debate, raising questions about its origin, meaning, and implications. The discovery of the crop circle in Stoke Charity came as a surprise to both the landowner and the local community. The field had been undisturbed the previous day, with no signs of unusual activity. However, by dawn, the crop had been carefully flattened to create a complex and symmetrical pattern that covered a large area of the field. The formation was circular in shape, with an intricate cube design nested perfectly within the circle. The precision and scale of the crop circle were immediately apparent, leading many to speculate on how such a design could have been created so quickly and without anyone noticing. Photographs of the crop circle were quickly shared on social media, attracting the attention of crop circle enthusiasts, researchers, and the curious public. As news of the phenomenon spread, people from across the country began to visit the site, eager to see the formation for themselves and to try to understand how and why it had appeared. What sets the Stoke Charity crop circle apart from many others is its unique design. The complexity of the design suggests a high level of skill and planning, leading some to speculate that it could not have been created by human hands alone, especially under the cover of darkness. The precision with which the crop was flattened, without damaging the surrounding areas, further adds to the mystery. As with most crop circles, the appearance of the circular cube-shaped formation in Stoke Charity has led to a variety of theories about its origin. The second crop circle appeared in Etchelhampton, a small village in Wiltshire. This crop circle, which materialized overnight, has become the subject of intense interest and debate, raising questions about its origin, meaning, and the broader phenomenon of crop circles. The farmer has requested that people don't step on his land as he doesn't want any more damage done to his property. In the early morning, local farmers and residents were greeted by an astonishing sight: a massive crop circle measuring over 80 meters that had appeared in a wheat field, seemingly out of nowhere. The formation, covering a significant area, featured a large spiral pattern with a perfect circle at its center. The spiral wound outward in a precise and symmetrical fashion, creating an image that was both visually striking and geometrically complex. The crop within the spiral had been carefully flattened, with the stalks laid down in a manner that preserved the integrity of the plants, yet created a clear and defined pattern. The precision of the design, combined with its size and the fact that it had appeared overnight without any obvious signs of human activity, immediately sparked curiosity and intrigue. News of the crop circle spread quickly through the village and beyond, with people flocking to the site to see the formation for themselves. The intricate spiral design, combined with the central circle, drew comparisons to ancient symbols and mathematical patterns, leading some to speculate about its potential meaning and significance. Photographs of the crop circle were soon shared on social media, attracting the attention of crop circle researchers as well as journalists and the general public. The sudden appearance of the crop circle in Etchelhampton added to Wiltshire's reputation as a centre for unexplained phenomena, fueling further interest in the region's mysterious past and present. The spiral is one of the oldest and most universal symbols found in human culture, appearing in art, architecture, and spiritual practices across the world. It is often associated with concepts of growth, evolution, and the cyclical nature of life. In many ancient cultures, the spiral represented the journey of life, the movement of the heavens, or the unfolding of the cosmos. The central circle within the spiral can also symbolize unity, completion, or the source of creation. Given the rich symbolism of the spiral, it is not surprising that the crop circle at Etchelhampton has been the subject of various interpretations. Some see the formation as a message or a sign, perhaps related to the natural cycles of the Earth or the unfolding of cosmic events. Others view it as an artistic expression, created by unknown individuals with a deep understanding of geometry and symbolism. As with most crop circles, the question of how the spiral formation in Etchelhampton was created has led to a range of theories. These theories generally fall into two categories: those that attribute the crop circle to human activity and those that suggest a more mysterious origin. Some believe that the crop circle could be the work of extraterrestrial beings or otherworldly forces. The sudden appearance of the formation, combined with its complexity and the absence of any clear evidence of human intervention, has led some to speculate that the crop circle could be a form of communication or a marker left by visitors from another world. This theory is particularly popular among those who believe that Wiltshire's ancient monuments and ley lines might be connected to other dimensions or extraterrestrial activity. The mysterious Lonnie Zamora incident. Although there have been attempts to provide logical explanations and skeptics, claiming that the UFO sighting was a deliberate deception to bring tourists to a quiet part of New Mexico, the observed UFO landing reported by police officer Lonnie Zamora is still considered one of the most reliable encounters ever documented, and one that continues to captivate UFO researchers and investigators, even to this day, more than half a century later. Regarding the case, there is undoubtedly a wealth of material available. 3 distinct organizations would conduct investigations into the matter, which include the US Army, the FBI, and the US Air Force investigators. The occurrence was shrouded in such a level of secrecy that even J. Allen Hynek, one of the investigators who had initially doubted such accounts, underwent a complete transformation in his perspective on the matter. For numerous UFO researchers, the Zamora encounter is regarded as very plausible and potentially significant, regarding the information present at the scene itself. Furthermore, it is important to consider the potential responses of different groups and organizations following the incident. On the evening of April 24, 1964, Police Officer Sergeant Lonnie Zamora was driving quickly on a roadway in Socorro, New Mexico, in order to catch up with a car that was exceeding the speed limit. Subsequently, when the car was still a significant distance ahead, the individual perceived a loud noise and observed a burst of fire in the atmosphere. Zamora would cease his chase of the racing vehicle and proceed towards the source of the explosion, contemplating the possibility of an aeroplane landing or a detonation in a storage shack containing explosives. While observing, he witnessed a serene descent of a flame that had a bluish-orange hue. While driving, he described the flame as funnel-like, but his attention was divided between the strange thing landing and the approaching road. While approaching the location, he became aware that the sound was still perceptible. The sound was defined as a roar rather than a blast. The duration of this noise would last for around 10 further seconds and would transition from a high frequency to a low frequency. As the item descended, Zamora encountered a steep incline that his vehicle had difficulty navigating, to such an extent that it required the officer 3 tries to conquer the ascent. At this point, the fast-moving automobile had already disappeared far away. The noise has ceased. He would persist at a brisk yet unhurried speed for several additional seconds. Subsequently, he noticed a gleaming item situated adjacent to the road approximately 200 yards in front of him. Initially, Zamora held the belief that the thing situated in front of him was a car that had been turned upside down. He observed two individuals standing close to it, seemingly inspecting the vehicle and its environs. One individual seemed to observe his coming automobile. Each individual was wearing white coveralls. At the moment, he failed to observe any peculiarities save for their dimensions. Later, he would assert, they were either diminutive adults or substantial children. As he drew nearer, his pace somewhat reduced, he started to suspect that the vehicle was not actually flipped over. Subsequently, he characterized it as having an O form, or like an egg, with a pale hue and made of aluminium. Additionally, he observed an unusual symbol or emblem on the exterior of the spacecraft. He would promptly transmit a concise report of his current whereabouts and circumstances to the dispatch bureau. Subsequently, he halted the police car and commenced the process of disembarking from the vehicle. Shortly after exiting the car, the loud noise resumed, and simultaneously, a blue flame emerged from the bottom of the spacecraft. Initially, he experienced apprehension regarding the possibility of an explosion, prompting him to swiftly throw himself into the ground. He would proceed to the rear of his police car, maintaining visual contact with the incident ahead. The intensity of the roar progressively increased, accompanied by a simultaneous escalation in frequency. Subsequently, the item ascended vertically into the atmosphere. As the craft started to rise, he could once more observe the blue flame with an orange hue beneath it. As the craft ascended, Zamora observed that it had a distinct oval form. In addition, he was able to perceive a distinct red mark or symbol on the side of the aircraft. The facade exhibited a remarkably sleek appearance, devoid of any discernible doors or windows. Zamora started to retreat slowly, positioning the car as a barrier between himself and the ascending vehicle. Subsequently, while reaching an elevation of around 20 feet, the vehicle ceased its upward movement and remained suspended for a few moments. Anxiety started to escalate in Zamora. Anticipating the possibility of another loud noise or maybe a fire, he briefly shielded his face with his arms for a few seconds. Upon second glance, the vessel was once again progressing in a linear trajectory, distancing itself from his position. Regaining consciousness, Zamora hastily returned to the automobile and transmitted a message by radio to the operator at the police station, Nep Lopez. He instructed him to gaze through the window in order to determine if he could perceive an object above. He maintained visual contact with the swiftly diminishing aircraft as it traversed the 6-mile canyon mountain area. Shortly after the craft disappeared from sight, Sergeant Sam Chavez, who had been alerted by Zamora's radio communications, arrived at the scene. He would remark on how his colleague appeared to be really pale. Nevertheless, when he investigated the location indicated by Zamora regarding the peculiar object, he found the unusual symbols to be highly fascinating, to say the least. Both Zamora and Chavez would proceed to examine the region that was currently engulfed in flames and vegetation. Visible smoke emanated from the apparent location where something was burning. Nevertheless, there was an absence of flames and no presence of combustible materials. In addition, Chavez noticed what seemed to be 8 different imprints. 4 of the indentations had a larger and rectangular configuration, whereas the remaining 4 displayed a smaller and circular shape. Zamora later asserted that he had not observed any legs when the thing was on the ground. It would only take a few hours for the press to learn about the incident. In a matter of days, the once quiet town of Socorro quickly gained prominence as the focal point of interest for the UFO community. UFO researchers and investigators would gather in the region. Several journalists from news agencies including United Press International and Associated Press would also be there. In addition, organizations like the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization and the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena would dispatch teams to the region. In addition, the US Air Force would dispatch representatives to conduct an official investigation. Ray Stanford, an investigator from the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, was among the first to arrive at the scene. Presumably due to this reason, Stanford seemingly interviewed multiple witnesses who could support the tale before it gained widespread attention. He would unearth a report to an Albuquerque television station, which may have started to help with a timetable of sorts, and he would also find a possible witness who just so happened to be driving through the state at the time of the sighting. The resident of Albuquerque called at 5:30 in the evening to report that an oval object was approaching the town of Socorro at a very low altitude and moving very slowly for its size. Additionally, there were other witnesses who asserted vivid recollections of perceiving a distinct, boisterous sound during the approximate time when Zamora made his claim. Some individuals would even affirm having heard the second roar that Zamora alleged had taken place as he departed from his vehicle. Additionally, Stanford would discover from the Socorro police files that 3 different people had reported seeing a brilliant, shining object rising in the sky to the dispatch desk. The reports would have been received prior to any publicity of the incident. One particularly intriguing report originated from the La Madera region of New Mexico. Furthermore, the FBI would deem it appropriate to conduct an investigation. On the same day as the Zamora event, an unidentified flying object was sighted in the area. Despite ruling out the possibility of military aircraft, the nature of the item remained unknown. Subsequently, on the 26th of April, about after 1 in the morning, a neighboring inhabitant ventured outside to investigate the source of disturbance to his horses. During this encounter, the individual observed an object resembling a butane tank, descending and touching down on the ground in close proximity. Upon resuming flight, the observer vividly remembered observing a blue-white flame emanating from the lower surface of the vehicle. In addition, he would observe significant depressions on the ground, as well as multiple smaller, more circular ones. Moreover, a scorched circular area on the ground was clearly visible as the landing place for a considerable period of time. The cops at the site immediately recognized that the indentations were recently created and not pre-existing. Moreover, they were constructed to resemble the impact of a substantial item in the vicinity, at an oblique angle. While Zamora was the sole police officer who directly observed the craft, several others, including Chavez, could provide ample testimony to confirm the genuineness of the incident. In addition, in Chavez's case, Zamora himself would assert that his fellow officer was experiencing a state of shock. Upon their arrival, everyone would assert that certain areas of the ground were still scorching and emitting smoke. The FBI investigation explicitly documented the presence of 4 non-conventional smoldering regions at the same site where Zamora alleged the occurrence of the incident. Chavez would additionally do a prompt and comprehensive search of the vicinity. He was unable to locate any tire tracks, except for the ones made by Zamora's vehicle. Furthermore, no other footprints were found that would indicate the presence of any other activity going to the landing spot. Prior to delving into the official military investigation, let us revisit one of the out-of-town tourists who were driving in the very location mentioned by Stanford upon his arrival. The proprietor of Whitting Brothers Service Station, situated in close proximity to the presumed landing site, Opal Grinder, willingly provided a statement as part of the official inquiry conducted by the US Air Force. Although he did not personally observe the incident, he was aware of 2 individuals who were traveling through the state and did witness it. He would assert that the vehicle arrived immediately following the loud explosion. The man who arrived to settle the payment for their merchandise would jokingly remark to Opal about the very low altitude at which the aeroplanes travel in this area. He responded apathetically, stating that a significant number of helicopters frequently traverse the vicinity. Moreover, it seems that the unidentified vehicle had overtaken Zamora's police car, even engaging in a conversation with Opal about it. Subsequent inquiry would ultimately uncover the identities of the mysterious individuals as Larry Kratzner, who had conversed with Opal, and his companion, Paul Keyes. Both individuals hailed from Dubuque, Iowa, and were in the process of returning to their hometown. In 1978, Ralph DeGraw, a UFO researcher, conducted interviews with the 2 men. Although he observed many inconsistencies when comparing it to Zamora's narrative and even among their own claims, considering that it had been 14 years since the occurrence and they were moving away from it, there were also some fascinating similarities that closely aligned. On April 25th, the United States military conducted an official interview with Zamora. Army Captain Richard T. Holder, the highest-ranking officer available from the neighboring White Sands base, was there, along with Arthur Burns from the FBI. Throughout the conversation, Zamora expressed his conviction that he had observed a clandestine experimental vehicle. Holder, however, promptly rejected this idea. He appeared to make a deliberate effort to inform the press that the military did not own any object that could be compared to the object described by Zamora. Shortly after the interview, Holder and Burns would promptly proceed to the purported landing site, equipped with flashlights to navigate in the darkness. The authorities would promptly establish a perimeter around the area, collecting samples and scrutinizing the charred sections of the vegetation. Researcher James E. MacDonald asserted that the military secretly confiscated a sample of fused sand. He asserts that a person named Mary Mays, who is employed as a radiological chemist in the Las Vegas Public Health Service, was also present at the Socorro site on that particular evening. While conducting her duties on behalf of the US military, she made the remarkable discovery of a solid glass-like region located directly beneath the landing site. The majority of the samples she collected turned out to be sap. Nevertheless, there were numerous unidentifiable and unfamiliar organic substances. Some individuals made additional efforts to explain the incident as a result of meteorological conditions or a hot air balloon that had been affected by the wind. Nevertheless, this does not provide a satisfactory explanation for the deafening roars that were experienced by Zamora and many Socorro residents. Furthermore, it fails to elucidate the origin of the flames seen by Zamora. Alternatively, the smoke that was reported by the mystery tourists. Zamora had mentioned observing what he believed to be particles of dust swirling in the vicinity of the item. He was uncertain whether the movement was caused by the wind or if the dust was a result of the landing. Undoubtedly, Zamora himself would remember that the winds were blowing exceptionally strong that evening. Subsequent research has revealed a crucial feature that contradicts the notion that wind could have caused the movement of a balloon. All accounts indicate that the item was moving in the west-southwest direction. Nevertheless, this implies that the item would have been advancing against the opposing airflow. Clearly, this would entirely destroy the idea that a lightweight vessel was solely subject to the whims of the wind. In addition, as stated by Zamora, the object would ascend vertically. Moreover, it would remain suspended in the air for some seconds. The object's movements were not in line with those expected from anything dependent on wind strength for both direction and power. Despite extensive investigations, the Lonnie Zamora incident remains unexplained. It stands as a reminder that there are still phenomena in our world that defy easy explanation. Whether the incident was a glimpse of advanced human technology, an encounter with advanced beings, or something else entirely, it continues to provoke curiosity and debate. As of right now, the Lonnie Zamora incident is a cornerstone in the study of UFO phenomena. The detailed and consistent account provided by a reliable witness, combined with physical evidence, makes it one of the most compelling cases in UFO history. While the true nature of the encounter remains a mystery, it serves as a powerful reminder of the unknown and the need for continued exploration and open-minded investigation. Some of the most interesting events are those that we can't initially explain. Being a rancher is a hard but rewarding job. The job becomes even more difficult when your cattle start to expire under mysterious circumstances. What many people aren't aware of is that these strange circumstances have been reported for hundreds of years, and each time these cases get investigated, we get no closer to understanding what or who is doing this. Ranchers throughout the United States have come forward with their cattle stories, but said that as of right now, even officials are confused as to why this keeps happening. Due to this worrying trend, investigators wanted to examine the animals in order to better understand what was going on, and hoped that by conducting a detailed analysis of the animals, they would be able to come to a conclusive answer. Frustratingly, the extensive surveys didn't reveal anything that would indict why the cattle were expiring in the way they were, and this led to the ranchers demanding answers and more investigations into why this was happening, saying that this phenomenon has been going on now for several months throughout Colorado and Utah. One of the investigators decided to see if there were any signs of predators in the area, but surprisingly, nothing was found, and there was very little evidence to suggest that the cows had been attacked by a predator. When researchers first conducted their studies, they found that only a few cattle had expired, but as the weeks went on, the numbers started to double, something that worried the investigators as they were out of answers and evidence for why this was happening. They suggested that perhaps the cattle were being infected with some kind of bacteria. But this theory was soon put to bed when a forensic examination of the remains revealed no evidence of this. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Manager Travis Black said the following: "Teams have found no evidence that wolves were responsible. It's perplexing. We're scratching our heads a little bit. We don't know exactly what has occurred up there. We have no evidence of wolves in that area. That doesn't mean they're not there. Sometimes wolves can be difficult to locate, but this isn't being caused by the wolves." End quote. Oddly enough, 465 miles away in Kansas, the exact same thing is happening, with ranchers wanting answers for why their cattle are expiring under mysterious circumstances. One rancher said the following: "This is happening in Kansas and it's not anything new. For me, this has been happening now for the past several years, and it makes me think that someone is targeting my cattle on purpose. If I'm being honest, it makes me think that someone wants me out, and that they are doing something to these animals that isn't easy to detect. They are not being attacked in the traditional way. There's no sign of trauma or anything on the ground that would indicate that they were in pain. Whatever is happening to them seems to be an instant hit. One minute they are grazing and acting normal, then the next morning they are on the ground. It's like a switch is being turned off inside them. I've heard about the various investigations that have taken place, and I can only speak about my personal experience, and to me it feels like us ranchers are being pushed out." End quote. According to one media outlet, they reported that the bizarre event that unfolded in Kansas happened because of strong winds. Although these reports occasionally make the news, ranchers have said that very little gets done, and that they don't know what to do. One rancher said the following: "It's hard enough making a living, but when your cattle suddenly expire under mysterious circumstances, it's not just a huge blow to your business, but it's a life that gets taken and no one is held accountable. We don't know what's causing these cattle to expire the way they do. No one has got any closer to understanding how this happens, and no evidence has been presented that provides proof as to why this keeps happening. We have no one to turn to in these matters, and each time we are being told that other animals are causing this when we know this isn't the case. This happened to my friend on his ranch. As he was driving to a separate part of his field, he drove past a small group of his cattle that were sticking close to one another. As he drove over a hill, they were no longer in his sight, but after driving back approximately an hour later, one of his cattle was on the ground, and it had a small section of its face removed. He said that his ranch is completely open, and this allows you to have a good view of everything around the property. But what confused him was that during this small time period, nothing made its way onto the property. There were no tracks left in the dirt, no animal footprints, and no spillages around the area which would help indicate which way the culprit went. He can't explain how all of this unfolded in such a short amount of time." End quote. Although the most popular stories surrounding possible advanced life forms tend to focus on the topics of people being taken during their sleep, sightings of advanced aircrafts, or supernatural occurrences featuring humanoid creatures, many researchers who've looked into this topic often forget that some of the strongest pieces of evidence of strange happenings appears to center around the disappearances of cattle and subsequent damages to livestock. The earliest known written record of bizarre animal surgeries and sudden disappearances of a large number of livestock comes from an official document dated sometime during the early 1600s, when an investigator for the court of James I of England claimed that impossible to explain mass expirations of sheep were being recorded all across London and nearby shires. It was originally believed that the sudden expirations of the sheep could have been caused by neighbouring farms competing in market production, alongside hungry travellers that were committing theft as they travelled throughout London, of which was the most heavily populated region during the 1600s. When the investigations took place, evidence was found that seemed to reject the original hypothesis. According to the court investigator, the sheep were found to have expired through causes that were otherwise impossible to attribute to human activity. Their organs, meat, and fleece remained untouched, with only evidence of possible tallow removal, and blood having been completely drained from the animal with no spillage surrounding the animal. Even more difficult to explain was the sheer number of sheep that suddenly expired in what farmers believed would have been over the course of only a few hours. The investigator wrote that in some cases there were more than 100 sheep that suddenly expired, and no evidence of footprints, tracks, or spillage that could point towards a group of people having perpetrated the crime. When the investigator asked around local regions that were at the epicenter of the series of sheep disappearances and explorations, many attributed the sight of brilliant lights nearby to have been the possible cause. Some believed that the fireworks could have scared the sheep and caused them to pass away in fright, whereas others believed that the lights they had seen in the sky could have had a more sinister purpose. The court ended the investigation with the following comment. Around the City of London and some of the shires adjoining, whole explorations of sheep have been made, in some places to number 100. Nothing is taken from the sheep but their tallow and some inward parts, the whole carcasses, and fleece remaining still behind. End quote. The phenomenon would continue for several decades before ending entirely. The most interesting aspect of these sheep disappearances is that they seem to bear remarkable resemblance to modern-day cattle disappearances. When researching mass livestock explorations, it became obvious that cattle disappearances and surgeries are a fairly recent development, with the first recorded instances beginning during the 1800s. A strange finding is that the sudden change of livestock being targeted, from sheep to now cattle, appears to match directly with the world market and primary source of meat production during these times. When sheep disappearances, surgeries, and unexplained explorations were occurring, the main meat export around the world centered around sheep populations. It's only been over the last couple of centuries that the role of cattle has slowly changed for the purpose of meat consumption. During the 1600s to the late 1700s, when recorded instances of sheep explorations were occurring, cattle were predominantly used for labor and secondarily used for milk production. Eating the meat of cattle, creating leather from their hide, or using their bones for objects were only the product of cattle that had passed due to natural causes or old age. Could it be that whoever is behind these explorations switched from studying sheep from around the world to now modern-day cattle to better understand the main meat consumption diets of our entire species? The earliest known study into sudden cattle explorations began in the state of Ohio back in 1966, when an investigator known as John Keel began to look into a series of unexplainable cases that were recorded around the upper Ohio River Valley. The cattle seemed to have passed away due to bizarre circumstances that were otherwise impossible to have occurred naturally. When these cases were looked into, it revealed that a number of cattle had passed away shortly after falling from a great height, despite the fact that the pastures were wide expanses of flat, endless land, with no heights great enough to have caused the injuries recorded. Other instances noted that the cattle appeared to have been cut with precision tools that created perfectly straight lines in their thick hide, which would have required special surgical equipment. A list of consistent findings were the following. Many of the livestock explorations were made with clean surgical cuts that would have required precise tools and equipment. Many of the cattle found had been completely drained of their fluids, showed no sign of spillage in the surrounding area, or any form of clotting surrounding their wounds. Over 90% of the cattle that were targeted was between the age of 4 to 5 years old. No footprints, spillage, tracks, or evidence of any other animal nearby could be found. These discoveries and subsequent livestock investigations stayed within the farming communities for several decades, without the general public aware of the events. This was until the 1970s, when investigations began to uncover bizarre findings. The first investigation that became publicized surrounding strange animal surgeries was the famous event known as the Lady Incident, that occurred on the 9th of September back in 1967. According to the King family, Harry King, the son of Agnes King, found their 3-year-old horse named Lady. The skin surrounding the head and neck of the animal had been completely removed, with cuts that were far too precise to have been caused by a predator. There was no vital fluid at the scene, and there were absolutely no tracks of any kind surrounding the body, including Lady's horse tracks that suddenly disappeared more than 100 feet from the body, as if the animal had been running but was lifted off the ground. Oddly enough, several small holes were punched into the ground as if there were sharp poles that carried a substantial weight that had landed nearby, and 2 large bushes had been found crushed completely flat. When the story surrounding the Lady incident was published in the local paper, it was the first ever recorded livestock investigation that had been associated with a possible otherworldly encounter. Following this, investigations grew to be far more peculiar. In June of 1976, when investigating the sudden expiration of a 3-year-old cow in Rio Arriba County of New Mexico, investigators discovered what was described as a trail of suction cup-like impressions that led away from the recovered body. These impressions in the ground appeared to be in a tripod form, with each cup being roughly 4 inches in diameter, 28 inches apart, and suddenly disappeared about 500 feet away from the young cow, with no other signs of tracks surrounding the animal. Although skeptics originally believed that the incident was playing off of heightened fears of mysterious encounters, with a perpetrator appearing to have used a contraption to have created the indentations, similar incidents with suction cup-like indentations would be found all across the state following the Rio Arriba incident. 2 years later, within the same state of New Mexico, a case involving an 11-month-old bull would bring the livestock investigations a substantial piece of evidence. According to the report made on the 24th of March back in 1978, Mr. Manuel Gomez alerted the New Mexican police of his prized 11-month-old bull having been the victim of a coordinated attack. When the police investigated the body, they found consistent details matching past investigations, such as precise cuts that could have been made only with precision instruments and surgical equipment, its organs completely removed, and a lack of blood to be found anywhere on the scene. On top of these consistent reports, the police found another peculiar aspect surrounding the bull when the team began looking at the organs for signs of predators of surgical markings. According to the New Mexican police officer, Gabriel Valdez was quoted as saying the following: "Both the liver and heart were white and mushy. Both organs had the texture and consistency of peanut butter." End quote. Although the police officer could not have known at the time what the discovery entailed, today, in the medical field, we are familiar with what are referred to as ghost hearts. A ghost heart is a heart that has been completely decellularized, with all of the red blood cells and blood vessels removed from the heart, giving it a white, almost transparent, ghostly appearance. The only time a human heart is turned into a ghost heart is to prepare the heart for a donor transplant to prevent the body from rejecting the heart due to incompatible blood cells, or a reaction from the antigens of the blood from the donor's cells. In essence, this means that the blood was drained from the animal to such an extent that the organs underwent a decellularization process. Shortly after this find, the Federal Bureau of Investigation took over the investigation and sent the organs to 2 independent private research laboratories to study the samples and bring back any information surrounding their chemical composition. In the research file, the FBI document outlines the following claims. The liver was checked against a healthy food market liver, which showed a difference. The bull's liver contained no copper and 4 times the amount of phosphorus, zinc, and potassium. No explanation for this condition is available. Also, the blood which came off of the nose when it was presumably dropped was light pink in color. This blood did not clot after several days. The hide on the animal was brittle and felt to touch like parchment paper. Flesh underneath the hide was pinkish in color. A probable explanation for the pinkish blood is a control type of radiation used to expire the animal. This was according to radiation experts. The red corpuscles are destroyed, leaving the pale pinkish color. All of the toxicology findings on blood are negative because of the dissemination of the radiation. It's believed that this type of radiation is not harmful to humans, although approximately 7 people who visited the site complained of nausea and headaches. End quote.
Scientists don't know why hundreds of birds are getting sick. Birds are a crucial part of the world's natural ecosystem. Without them, much would be lost. Now, scientists are racing to figure out why they are falling sick en masse to stop a potential tragedy from unraveling. In the Midwest and southern regions of the United States, birds are passing away and falling sick at alarming rates, with no explicit explanation. An estimated 7 states are affected. Blue jays, European starlings, and grackles are among those most affected by the mysterious disease spreading through the bird world. According to avian biologist Kate Stankard of the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, we're experiencing an unusual amount of bird mortality this year. We have yet to figure out what the problem is. The condition seems to be pretty deadly. The sickly birds are found with puffy eyes, often crusted over with pus, and many suffer from seizures and suffer from an inability to stay balanced. Biologists who have examined the birds claim that they act blind even when they have perfectly healthy eyesight and are mentally or instinctively lacking. For example, they cease to fly away when approached, a common avian behavior that ensures their safety. This suggests the sickness removes a bird's self-preservation instincts, making it susceptible to external dangers. In Stankard's words, the birds often sit still, often kind of shaking. Stankard asserts that hundreds of birds across the United States are struggling with the mysterious illness and emphasizes the problem is no longer a minuscule one, but a nationwide issue which worsens each year. Biologists across America promise that they are doing all they can to uncover the cause of this phenomenon. A multi-state research group has formed in an attempt to research the sickness further and hopefully discover a cure to administer into the wild. Even when a cure is found, there is some speculation about how one might get it out into the ecosystem safely. Investigating the issue is time-consuming, requiring samples to be analyzed several times during lab tests to obtain definitive results, and often come back inconclusive. Theories have arisen as to what might have caused the illness. Wildlife biologist Laura Kearns poses that pesticides might be causing this widespread avian pandemic, and suggests she has heard other people claim a heightened population of cicadas are to blame. Pesticides have been known to negatively impact not only the insects they are made for, but larger ecosystems because mammals and birds feed on poisoned insects, causing the toxicity to affect them. This is not helped by the fact that many pesticides are outlawed in various countries around the world for their extreme toxicity. According to Kearns, in Ohio alone, hundreds of birds have been found, all perishing from the same cause, the unknown sickness. Despite the initial belief that the sickness was a return of the infamous avian influenza, all tests to prove this have come back negative. This illness is something entirely new, and scientists are unprepared. Sick birds from Kentucky have since been sent for analysis at the University of Georgia to be tested by the Southeastern Cooperative Wildlife Disease Study. New Mexican wildlife biologists have also begun reporting abrupt avian fatalities and a shocking decline in their populations. By now, the total avian population loss across America might have reached far beyond 100,000. Unusual animal behavior preceding the 2011 Japan earthquake. Earthquakes are terrifying. As all forces of nature, they destroy all in their wake and can cause many casualties, not to mention millions, if not billions of dollars worth of damaged property. Yet, to add to their terror, animals have been spotted behaving in mysterious ways when earthquakes are about to occur. It's long been known that animals sense oncoming natural disasters, and some scientists believe animal behavior can be analyzed to predict when and where such earthquakes might happen, as it's difficult to predict natural disasters. The specifics as to how these animals know danger is coming or why are not yet definitively known. In 2011, on March 11th, a terrible earthquake took place in Japan and gave researchers much insight into the phenomenon. An estimated 20,000 people perished or disappeared that day, highlighting it as a dark day in Japanese history. Researchers investigated animal behavior prior to the earthquake, and their questionnaires uncovered that several hundred pet owners in the region experienced strange behavioral patterns in their animals before the disaster. Cat and dog owners were questioned respectively, and 351 out of 1,962 pets were reported to behave strangely. The odd behaviors included increased restlessness, a factor linking all the cases. Cows were also investigated, and research revealed that cows yielded less milk the closer they were to the earthquake's epicenter a week before the earthquake occurred. The fact that animal behaviors were a minority and not a majority brings some doubt to the idea that animal instincts can be used to predict earthquakes, but researchers believe that the project shows promise. Whereas the cow's milk yield fell the week leading up to the natural disaster, the cats and dogs behaved agitated and restless on the day of or the day before the earthquake. Owners reported symptoms of biting owners, panic, barking loudly, hiding, climbing high trees, meowing pathetically, and taking kittens outside. In 1995, a similar study was conducted in Japan before the Great Hanshin earthquake. In that report, over half of the pet owners declared strange animal behaviors. Mice in Kobe, one of the cities affected by the earthquake, began fleeing the region en masse the day before. The same thing happened with birds and insect populations. though they fled an estimated hour before the earthquake. It's believed that because animals, dogs and cats especially, can hear sounds inaudible to humans and feel frequencies, they are aware of incoming disasters. Animals have been found to be more sensitive to the natural world regarding changes in the atmosphere and gravity. It's speculated that earthquakes possess physical attributes, such as the release of carbon monoxide and ultra-low frequencies which alert animals to brewing trouble. Scientists discover a continent that had been missing for 375 years. Continents are massive. It might come as a surprise then that scientists recently found a brand new continent hidden away for hundreds of years. A group of geoscientists uncovered the continent of Zealandia, known in the Maori tongue as Turua Maui. The continent has been recorded but seemingly faded from history books. The continent is believed to have been connected to Gondwana, a supercontinent that existed an estimated 500 million years ago and encompassed a massive portion of both Australia and Antarctica. The very first mention of the continent in the Western world comes from Abel Tasman, a Dutch merchant and sailor from 1642. Tasman remarked his desire to find a mysterious Great Southern Continent in hopes of etching his name into history, a task he struggled with. He had a conflict with the Maori, but was informed by the tribes that a giant landmass resided in the east. Despite Tasman's endless travels, he never uncovered the mythic Great Southern Continent. In 2017, that changed. At some point in history, billions of years ago, the continent tore away from the supercontinent of Gondwana for reasons yet unknown by scientists. At long last, 375 years after Tasman's journey, the continent was finally found. There has been speculation surrounding the mysterious and fabled Zealandia long before its finding. Only now do scientists agree in its existence, all those millions of years ago. Most of Zealandia is flooded, the murky depths concealing it all this time. Yet once the underwater landmass was investigated, it led scientists to wonder why they had not realized its existence sooner. Currently, researchers are trying to etch the history of Zealandia onto paper, to map its existence, its separation from Gondwana, and its downfall into the endless oceanic depths. According to scholar Nick Mortimer, if you think about it, every continent on the planet has different countries on it, but there are only 3 territories on Zealandia. The continent's strangeness adds to its scientific and geological appeal. Our world is a bizarre place, so we can never truly know what lurks in the skies or beneath the waves.
A few years back, a mysterious object could be seen opening up in the sky above Russia. The man who captured the footage said that an object could be seen forming in the sky, and then detailed that the object emitted a bright light, after which a smaller object could be seen flying out of it. The bizarre encounter left the man confused about what he had just witnessed, and in order to show his friends what he had seen, he decided to take some photographs so that he could analyze them at a later date. The man said that the object on the left was emitting a bright light, and that a smaller dark object could be seen inside it, describing it as looking like a large orb that was dark in color. As he watched the event unfold, he said that it made no noise and didn't match a plane or a helicopter, saying that he couldn't explain how the smaller, darker object flew out of the initial object. When the photographs were shared online, people gave their opinions on what they thought it could be. Suggestions ranged from rocket launches to mysterious aircrafts. Oddly enough, there weren't any launches in the area at the time of the encounter, which caused the eyewitness to suggest that it belonged to something unknown. Another user suggested that it was a wormhole, or that the man had witnessed a rare atmospheric phenomena. Interestingly, around the same time, it was reported that fighter jets had been scrambled throughout the area, and some of these reports have come from military officials and pilots themselves. For example, in 2012, a Russian fighter jet was scrambled to investigate a mysterious aircraft that had been detected on radar. The pilot reported that the object was a glowing orb that was moving at an incredible speed. The pilot attempted to intercept the object, but it disappeared before he could get close. In 2017, Russian media reported that jets had been scrambled to intercept several mysterious aircrafts that had been detected over the Black Sea. The reports claimed that the objects were moving at incredible speeds and were able to evade the fighter jets. There have also been reports of military officials investigating mysterious aircrafts. In 2014, the Russian Ministry of Defense launched a special department to investigate these sightings. The department is staffed by military officials and scientists and is tasked with investigating any sightings that are reported. One of the most famous incidents of a Russian fighter jet encountering a mysterious object occurred in 1989. A Soviet MiG-29 fighter jet was scrambled to investigate a strange aircraft that had been detected on radar. The pilot reported that he had encountered a large, saucer-shaped object that was emitting a bright light. The object was able to evade the fighter jet and disappeared before any further investigation could be conducted. These incidents have raised questions about whether the Russian government has knowledge of or involvement with these objects. Some theorists have suggested that the government has made contact with advanced beings and is working with them in secret, but as of right now, officials deny these claims and have said that the majority of these sightings can be explained. However, some fighter jet pilots have admitted that these aircrafts do have the ability to outmaneuver them, which has led to a series of questions being put forward by the general public. As of right now, while there have been reports of Russian fighter jets being scrambled to investigate these mysterious objects, officials have said that there is no concrete evidence to support the claims that these aircrafts belong to anything advanced. Interestingly, these mysterious orbs, also known as Foo fighters, are a type of unidentified object that are typically described as small, glowing spheres of light. They have been reported by pilots, astronauts, and even everyday people for decades, with sightings dating back to World War II. One of the most famous cases of these orb sightings occurred during World War II, when Allied pilots reported seeing strange, glowing objects flying alongside their planes, detailing that it was almost as if these mysterious objects were inspecting their planes, and said that before they could fly towards them, they would shoot off at incredible speeds. These objects were dubbed Foo fighters by the pilots, and their presence was often unnerving and mysterious, with many pilots detailing that they had no idea what they were. Some pilots reported that the orbs would follow their planes for long periods of time, performing aerial maneuvers that were beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. In more recent times, these orb sightings have continued to occur, with many witnesses reporting seeing glowing spheres of light in the sky. These orbs have been described as being anywhere from the size of a basketball to as small as a golf ball, and they often appear to move in an intelligent and deliberate manner. Despite the prevalence of orb sightings, there is still much debate among scientists and researchers about what these objects could be. Some believe that they are simply natural phenomena, such as ball lightning or other types of atmospheric anomalies. However, others suggest that they may be evidence of advanced activity. One theory is that these orbs are actually some type of advanced drone technology, developed by either a government or private organization. It is possible that these drones are being used for surveillance purposes, or even for military operations, and interestingly, they have been observed in areas with high security, leading some researchers to speculate whether an unknown group is responsible for them. Another possibility is that these orbs are indeed extraterrestrial in origin, and that they represent some type of reconnaissance or exploration mission. If this is the case, then it is possible that these orbs could be controlled remotely by an advanced civilization, or that they are being piloted by some type of artificial intelligence. As of right now, orb sightings continue to fascinate and mystify people around the world. While some dismiss these reports as mere hoaxes or misidentifications, others believe that they represent evidence of something truly extraordinary. Those who investigate these sightings have said that orb sightings are one of the most commonly reported aircraft, and over the years, pilots and eyewitnesses have been left confused by their sightings, saying that these mysterious objects have no visible propulsion system and are completely silent. One mystery is that every time these objects are photographed, they appear blurry, leading some researchers to say that these aircrafts might have the ability to interfere with electronics, which could explain why it's so difficult to capture them on camera. As of right now, what they are, how they are able to achieve what they do, and who they belong to remains a mystery.